The sun hung low and cruel in the sky, burning the red sands of the endless desert. Its heat pressed down like an invisible weight, making the world shimmer and blur. Mara's bare feet scraped against the cracked earth with every step. Her toes burned, but she dared not slow down. In her arms, her baby whimpered softly, feeling the heat just as much as she did. Mara had been walking for hours, maybe days. She could not remember how long. The desert had no sense of time. The horizon stretched like a cruel joke. Nothing but sand, rocks, and heat. Her lips were dry and cracked. Her throat felt like sandpaper. She had long since emptied the water pouch she had managed to carry. And now, every step felt heavier than the last. She stopped for a moment, placing her baby carefully on a small patch of shade under a scraggly, dead bush. It offered almost no protection. But Mara had learned to take whatever small mercy the desert gave. Her eyes scanned the horizon, squinting against the bright sunlight. There was no one in sight. The only sound was the soft, sad cry of her baby and the whisper of wind over the dunes. Mara pressed her palm to her forehead, shielding her eyes. "Come on, little one," she whispered, her voice dry and trembling. "We have to keep moving." She lifted her baby again and continued walking, her bare feet leaving faint prints in the hot sand. Each step was a struggle. Her legs ached, her arms ached, and her heart felt like it was about to burst. But she kept going. Somewhere, far ahead, she hoped, was a place of safety, a small human settlement she had heard rumors about. She didn't know if it still existed. She didn't know if anyone there could help her. All she knew was that she had to try. The sun beat down relentlessly. Sweat ran down her back and stung her eyes. She blinked through the haze, scanning the dunes. She thought she saw a shadow far off in the distance, but it was only her mind playing tricks. In this desert, the heat could turn a rock into a monster, a dune into a wave. Mara had learned not to trust her eyes. The baby stirred again, crying louder. Mara murmured comfort, rocking him gently, though she could feel the sweat from her own body dripping onto him. She whispered words of encouragement she wasn't sure she believed herself. "We're almost there. We just have to keep going." Her thoughts wandered as she walked. She remembered her home on a small colony far across the desert. It had been a simple place, with solar domes and water collectors, a small community of humans trying to make a life on this harsh planet. But the colony had been attacked. Mara had managed to escape, carrying her baby. But everything else, her friends, her home, her small garden was gone. A sudden wave of dizziness hit her. The world spun, and she felt herself staggering. Her baby whimpered, sensing her weakness. Mara stopped and pressed herself against a large rock, taking deep breaths. She could not let herself fall here, not with her child. Hours passed, or maybe it was minutes. Time had lost meaning. The desert seemed endless, a cruel expanse that refused to give mercy. Her bare feet were red and blistered, and every step felt like walking on fire. Her baby's cries were growing louder, more urgent. Mara's own voice was hoarse as she tried to soothe him. Then, far off, she saw movement, a figure. At first, she thought it was another mirage, a trick of the sun. But as the figure came closer, she realized it was real. A man, tall and broad, moving steadily across the desert. He carried a pack and seemed calm, untroubled by the sun. Mara's heart leapt. Could it be help, or was it danger? She had learned to trust no one. People in the desert often took what they could, leaving nothing behind. But her baby was crying harder, and her own strength was fading. She could not ignore this chance. The man stopped a few meters away, raising his hand in a gesture of peace. Mara hesitated, clutching her baby closer. Her legs trembled. The heat was unbearable. But she forced herself to stand taller, trying to look strong. "Are you okay?" the man called out. His voice was deep but gentle. Mara swallowed hard. I need water," she said. Her throat was dry, her voice barely more than a whisper. The man nodded. I have some. You can come with me. Something in his tone felt honest. Mara glanced at her baby, who had stopped crying for a moment. Sensing the shift in her mood, she took a deep breath and nodded. Slowly, she stepped forward, then stumbled, her feet burning. The man moved closer, steadying her with a hand on her shoulder. Careful, he said. The sand is hot. He led her to a small ridge where the ground was slightly cooler. From a pack on his back, he produced a small water container and handed it to her. Mara's hands shook as she took it, tipping the liquid carefully into her mouth. It was the first real relief she had felt in hours. She poured a little into her baby's mouth as well, who drank greedily. Thank you, Mara whispered, tears stinging her eyes. No need, the man said simply. The desert is harsh. Everyone deserves a chance to survive. Mara studied him as she regained her strength. He was a rancher. She realized someone who lived off the land, off the desert, and knew its secrets. His clothes were simple but durable, his boots thick. He carried a small, solar-powered pack and a walking stick. There was a calm confidence in him that Mara had not seen in anyone else for a long time. My name is Mara, she said, finally. I'm Jace, he replied. You're lucky I was out here today. It's dangerous to walk the desert alone, Mara nodded, looking at her baby who was now sleeping in her arms. I was trying to get to a settlement, but I don't know if it still exists. I've been walking for days. Jace's eyes narrowed slightly. The settlements are few, and the desert is unforgiving. You were lucky to make it this far. Mara swallowed, feeling both relief and fear. I can't go back. Everything is gone. My home, my people. She trailed off, unable to speak further. Jace put a hand on her shoulder. Then you keep moving forward. That's all any of us can do out here. For a moment, Mara felt hope stirring inside her. Perhaps she was not alone. Perhaps there were still humans who had survived, who had learned to fight the desert rather than be defeated by it. The sun continued its relentless march across the sky. But now Mara felt a small spark of strength. With Jace's help, she could take another step. And then another. She could survive. She had to for her child. Together, they began to walk again, Jace leading the way, Mara following with careful, exhausted steps. The desert stretched before them, still harsh, still merciless. But for the first time in what felt like forever, Mara did not feel completely alone. And somewhere beyond the horizon, a small settlement waited if they could survive the journey there. The sun had started to sink toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. But the desert remained harsh. Mara's feet were raw, and her arms ached from carrying her baby. Yet, somehow, walking beside Jace made the distance feel less unbearable. He moved steadily, every step purposeful, as if the desert itself respected him. You need to rest soon, Jace said, glancing back at her. Your baby too. Even a short break will help. Mara shook her head, but exhaustion pulled at her. We can't stop. Not yet. I don't know what's ahead, but we can't risk it, she said, her voice strained. Jace gave a small nod. I understand. But if you collapse, you'll slow us down and the baby won't survive either. You can't keep going blindly. Mara swallowed hard. She wanted to argue, wanted to keep moving, but her body refused. Her muscles screamed with fatigue, and her baby's soft whimpers reminded her of the stakes. Finally, she nodded reluctantly. Jace spotted a small rock outcropping that offered shade. He led her there, helping her sit down gently. She placed her baby on her lap, cradling him, feeling the warmth of his small body against hers. The desert wind whispered over them, bringing little relief from the heat. Jace pulled a small device from his pack and checked the surroundings. It looked like a map, but unlike a normal one, it glowed softly and seemed to pulse. This is a tracker, he said. It shows water sources, settlements, and any unusual activity in the area. Mara leaned forward, trying to understand. Settlements? There are people still out here? Jace nodded. A few. Most are small, hidden. Humans learned long ago not to stay in one place for too long. The desert doesn't forgive mistakes. Mara's heart lifted slightly. She had been walking blind for so long, unsure if any other humans survived. The idea that there were still settlements, hidden but alive, made her feel a spark of hope. Are you alone? Mara asked cautiously. I mean, you live out here by yourself? Jace gave a small smile. Mostly. People tried to join me once, but the desert is not kind to everyone. You have to respect it, learn it, or it will take everything from you. I prefer it this way. Simple, steady, controlled, and Mara looked at him carefully. There was a quiet strength about him, a confidence that made her feel safer. She wondered if she could ever survive like that, if she could ever learn to respect the desert instead of fearing it. The baby yawned and snuggled closer to Mara's chest. She felt a pang of guilt for bringing him into this harsh world. But she had no choice. She had survived the colony attack, but if she failed now, her child would not. Jace noticed her tension. You're worried, he said. I get it. Every parent feels that. But you've come this far. That shows you have strength. You're stronger than you think. Mara let out a shaky breath. I hope you're right, she said. Jace glanced at the horizon, his eyes sharp. We'll need to move soon. Night is coming, and the desert gets cold fast. Heat is dangerous, but cold can kill you just as quickly. We have to reach the canyon before it's dark. The canyon? Mara asked. It's a natural shelter, Jace explained. Steep walls, some hidden caves. There's a small water source there. Not much, but enough to survive a night. We'll rest, regain some strength, and then continue in the morning. Mara nodded, feeling a small wave of relief. The idea of resting in a safe place, even briefly, was comforting. She tried to stand, but her legs trembled violently. Jace immediately reached out to steady her. Easy, he said. Take it slow. You'll get there. They started walking again, moving toward the canyon. Every step was a battle against the soft, burning sand and Mara's own fatigue. But Jace remained patient, offering encouragement. Sometimes, he carried the baby for her when her arms grew too weak. As they walked, Jace spoke of the desert in quiet tones. He told her about the dangers, rogue AI drones that sometimes patrolled the outer colonies, hunting for survivors or scavenging supplies. Sandstorms that could appear without warning, swallowing everything in their path, and the strange desert wildlife that could be deadly if provoked. Mara listened carefully, absorbing every word. The world was cruel, but humans had survived here before. Humans could survive again. Hours passed, the sun sinking lower, and the sky deepening to shades of purple and red. Finally, they reached the canyon's mouth, a narrow passage carved through the rock over centuries. The shadowed walls offered immediate relief from the sun's last rays. This is it, Jace said. We'll rest here tonight. The water source is just inside. Mara knelt beside the small stream trickling from the canyon wall. She cupped the water in her hands, letting it run over her face. Her baby drank eagerly, his tiny fingers grasping at her. For the first time in days, she felt a sense of calm. Jace set up a small fire using solar-powered ignition sticks. The flames were small but warm, casting soft light across the canyon walls. He handed Mara a simple meal, dried rations preserved for desert travel. She ate slowly, savoring each bite. Her body needed every ounce of energy. As night fell, the desert's cold crept in. Mara shivered, wrapping herself and her baby in a thin blanket Jace had carried. The stars above were brilliant, untouched by city lights. And Mara found herself staring upward, feeling a mix of awe and fear. The desert was beautiful and dangerous, a place that could kill as easily as it inspired. Jace noticed her gaze. It's easy to forget the danger when you look at the stars, he said. But don't forget the desert never truly sleeps. We rest tonight. But tomorrow, we keep moving. You need to be ready. Mara nodded, feeling the weight of his words. She knew she couldn't afford to relax completely. The desert demanded vigilance, and she had to survive for her baby. Hours passed in quiet companionship. Jace kept watch while Mara slept in short bursts, cradling her child. Every sound, every shift of wind, made her heart race. But she found comfort in Jace's presence. He had survived here alone. Maybe, just maybe, she could too. Suddenly, a faint sound reached her ears, the soft whirring of something mechanical. Mara's eyes snapped open. Her baby stirred, sensing her tension. "Stay calm," Jace whispered. "Drones. Likely just scouts. They're looking for settlements. We've been lucky so far." Mara's heart pounded. She had heard stories of drones capturing humans for unknown experiments or stealing supplies. They could not let one find them now. Jace crouched, scanning the canyon mouth. "We're safe for the moment. The canyon walls hide us. But we can't stay here too long. If they find a path, we'll have to move quickly." Mara nodded, gripping her baby tightly. She realized that survival was not just about walking, or finding water, or avoiding heat. It was about vigilance, about thinking ahead, about trusting the right people. "Thank you," she whispered to Jace. I don't know what I would have done alone." He gave a small smile, almost hidden in the shadows. "You've done most of the hard work. You kept going. That's what matters. You're stronger than you think." Mara looked down at her baby, sleeping peacefully for the moment, and felt a spark of determination. She had to survive. She had to keep moving. And maybe, with Jace's guidance, they could reach one of the settlements still hidden in the desert. The canyon was silent now, except for the soft crackle of the fire. But Mara knew the desert would not rest. And tomorrow, they would continue their journey together, facing the harsh world head-on. The first rays of dawn spilled across the desert, turning the sands into gold. Mara awoke to the soft cooing of her baby and the gentle warmth of Jace's fire dying down. The canyon offered temporary relief, but the journey ahead would be even harder. She lifted her child, brushing the sleep from her own eyes, and looked toward the distant horizon. Jace was already moving, surveying the path ahead with practiced eyes. "We'll follow the ridge for a while," he said. "It's safer than the open sands. Less chance of predators. Or drones." Mara nodded, though her muscles screamed in protest. Her feet were raw from the scorching earth, her arms stiff from carrying her baby, but she followed. The ridge offered a slightly firmer footing than the loose desert sand, and the small rocks helped her maintain balance. The morning air was slightly cooler, but the sun rose quickly. The heat returned, relentless, and sweat ran down Mara's back. She felt the familiar gnawing anxiety. What if they never reached a settlement? What if the desert claimed them both? Jace noticed her tension. "We go at your pace," he said. "The desert isn't a race. Survival comes from patience and observation, not speed." Mara nodded, grateful for his patience. She learned quickly how to watch the land, how to notice small shifts in the sand, the distant movement of animals, and even the subtle changes in wind that hinted at danger. Hours passed with careful steps. The desert seemed endless, stretching in waves of gold and crimson, with jagged rocks breaking the monotony. The baby stirred, hungry and restless. Mara cradled him, whispering softly, telling him stories she remembered from her own childhood. Stories of hope, of courage, of humans surviving against impossible odds. Suddenly, Jace held up his hand. He crouched slightly, scanning the horizon. Mara squinted, but all she could see were sand dunes and distant rocks. "Something's out there," he murmured. "Not far." Mara's heart raced. "A sandstorm?" Jace shook his head. "No. Too small. Could be scouts." Mara's breath caught. Rogue drones were known to patrol the desert, searching for survivors or resources. People whispered terrifying stories about them, machines that could track humans for miles, relentless, unfeeling. "We have to move quietly," Jace said, lowering his voice. "Stay low. Don't let them see us." He led them down a shallow slope, the rocks providing cover. Mara hugged her baby to her chest, her pulse hammering. Every step had to be careful. A single misstep could expose them. Hours passed, and the distant figures began to take shape, small, metallic glints reflecting the sunlight. Mara could see the faint hum of the drone's engines. They moved slowly but with purpose, scanning the desert as if they could sense every living thing. Jace motioned for her to stay hidden behind a large rock. "We can't outrun them in open sand," he said. "But we can outsmart them." Mara watched, tense, as Jace observed the drone's movements. His eyes were sharp, calculating, and Mara realized he had survived here alone not by luck, but by skill. He was a master of this harsh world, reading it like a book. After a few moments, he whispered, "Follow my lead. Stay low. Keep the baby quiet. We'll move between the shadows of the dunes. Keep your breathing steady." Mara nodded, holding her breath as they slipped along the desert, moving silently from rock to rock, dune to dune. Her bare feet burned, but she ignored it. Her focus was on the baby and the path ahead. They had nearly passed the drones when a sudden movement caught Mara's eye. A small desert creature, its eyes bright and curious, scampered across their path. Her baby stirred at the sound. Mara froze, holding him tighter. "Shh," Jace whispered urgently. "Do not move." The creature paused, sniffing the air, then scurried away. Mara exhaled slowly, relief flooding her. She looked at Jace, admiration in her eyes. "How do you stay so calm?" she whispered. He gave a small smile. "Calm isn't the absence of fear. It's knowing how to survive despite it." They continued, the drones now behind them, oblivious to their escape. Mara felt a thrill of relief, but also a renewed sense of caution. The desert was beautiful, but it was a constant test of endurance and wit. As they walked, the sun climbed higher, its rays merciless. Jace led them to a narrow canyon passage, partially shaded. Allowing a small respite from the heat, he produced a water pouch and handed it to Mara. She drank deeply, then offered some to her baby. The small sips revitalized them both. But Mara knew the respite would be short. "You're doing well," Jace said, watching her closely. "The desert will test you, but you're stronger than you know." Mara's heart lifted at his words. She realized that survival was not just about strength, it was about persistence, observation, and courage. Every step she had taken, every blister and ache, had prepared her for this journey. By midday, the desert had grown quieter, almost too quiet. Mara noticed the distant shimmer of heat waves, making the horizon blur. Then she heard it, a low, metallic hum, closer than before. "Drones," Jace said sharply. "We need to move, now." He led them across an open stretch of sand, carefully choosing their path. Mara felt fear clawing at her, but she held her baby close, moving as steadily as she could. Each step was heavy, every movement calculated. Suddenly, the ground beneath her shifted, a hidden patch of loose sand gave way. Mara stumbled, her baby crying out. Jace grabbed her arm, steadying her before she fell. "Careful," he said, his voice calm but firm. "The desert hides dangers at every step." They continued, reaching a small ridge. From this height, Mara could see the distant outline of a canyon, the same one Jace had spoken of. It offered shelter, water, and a chance to rest before continuing the dangerous journey. As they descended toward it, a sudden whirlwind of sand erupted from the ground, sending loose grains into the air. Mara stumbled, coughing, shielding her baby. Jace grabbed her, pulling them both into the shadow of a rock. The whirlwind passed, leaving a small crater where the sand had shifted violently. "The desert is alive," Jace said quietly. "It can be dangerous, unpredictable, but it can also hide us when we need it. Mara nodded, catching her breath. She realized that surviving the desert was not only about avoiding threats, it was about understanding them, respecting them, and moving with them. Finally, they reached the canyon mouth. The walls rose steep and protective around them, and a small stream trickled from the rocks. Mara knelt, letting her baby drink from her cupped hands. Relief flooded through her. They had made it through the first real test of the desert. Jace looked around, ensuring the area was safe. "We rest here," he said. "Tonight, you sleep. Tomorrow, we continue. There will be more dangers, but you're ready." "You've learned quickly," Mara nodded, feeling a small spark of pride. She realized that the desert had tested her limits and that she had met them. Her baby slept in her arms, and for the first time in days, she felt a glimmer of hope. As night fell, the desert grew cold. But the canyon walls offered some shelter. Jace set up a small fire, and Mara sat close, warming herself. The stars above were bright, endless, and she realized that even in this harsh world, there was beauty. "Tomorrow," Jace said, his voice calm and certain, "we move toward the settlement. But tonight, we survive. That is victory enough." Mara held her baby close, feeling the warmth of both him and the fire. She knew the desert would not forgive mistakes, but she also knew that with courage, intelligence, and determination, she could face whatever lay ahead. The wind whispered through the canyon, carrying the scent of sand and distant rocks. Mara closed her eyes, letting herself rest, knowing that the next day would bring new challenges. But for now, she had survived, and that was enough. The desert was vast, merciless, and beautiful, and Mara was alive. The canyon had cooled under the night sky, and the stars above twinkled like tiny fires in the darkness. Mara stirred as the first hints of dawn painted the rocks a soft orange. Her baby shifted in her arms, blinking sleepily. The desert was still quiet, but Mara knew this calm was fragile. Jace had already packed their few belongings and was scanning the horizon. "We leave soon," he said. "The settlement isn't far now, but the desert doesn't forgive slow travelers. Keep your baby close and stay alert." Mara nodded, feeling the weight of her child in her arms. Every step had been a battle. But today, the promise of other humans, of safety, pushed her forward. The canyon opened gradually into wider sand flats. The wind had softened, and the golden dunes stretched toward distant rocky hills where the settlement was rumored to be. "Do you think it's real?" Mara asked, her voice low. "Could there really be people waiting for us?" Jace looked at her, his eyes serious. "There are always survivors. Humans find a way. Some settlements are hidden well. Small, careful, but strong. If we reach it, you'll see that the desert doesn't control everything. Humans do." Mara allowed herself a small spark of hope. She had feared she would wander endlessly, with no one to help her, no home, no community. The thought of finally seeing other humans, of being welcomed somewhere, gave her strength. The walk was harder than she expected. The sand shifted beneath their feet, and the sun climbed higher, turning the desert into a furnace. Mara's arms trembled. Holding the baby, her feet were blistered, and every muscle in her body ached. But she refused to stop. Jace kept a steady pace beside her, offering water when he could, sharing his quiet encouragement. Hours passed, and the settlement finally came into view. It was nestled in a valley between rocky hills, partially hidden from the desert's open plains. Solar panels glinted in the sun. Small green domes marked gardens, and fortified walls surrounded a cluster of buildings. Smoke rose from a chimney, a small sign of life in the harsh desert. Mara felt tears prick her eyes. She had walked for so long, feared for her baby's life, and now finally there was hope. "It's real," she whispered. "Yes," Jace said softly. "And you'll be safe there. But remember, even inside, humans need to stay alert. Survival doesn't end at the walls." They approached cautiously, and a guard spotted them from the walls. Mara raised her hand, showing the baby and signaling peace. The guard studied them for a moment, then nodded and gestured them inside. The settlement was small but organized. People moved with purpose, tending to crops, repairing buildings, and monitoring the horizon. Mara noticed children playing near the garden domes, a rare sight in the desert. Her baby cooed, sensing the safe energy around him. Inside, an elder approached them. His face was weathered, but his eyes were kind. "Welcome," he said. "You've walked a long way. You are safe here. For now." Mara knelt, holding her baby close. "Thank you," she whispered. We need a place to rest, to survive." The elder nodded. "You will find it here. But be aware, the desert isn't the only threat. There are others who would take what we have. We defend ourselves, always. If you wish to stay, you must understand that." Mara looked around, seeing the defenses for the first time. Walls were reinforced with metal scraps. Lookout towers dotted the perimeter, and a small group of armed guards patrolled steadily. Humans had learned quickly here. Survival required strength, vigilance, and community. Jace motioned for Mara to follow him to a small living area. "Rest here," he said. "You've earned it. Tomorrow, we'll meet the others and learn more about the settlement." Mara set her baby down gently in a crib made of soft, woven materials. She sank to the floor, exhausted, tears of relief running down her face. For the first time in days, she allowed herself to breathe. The next morning, Mara awoke to the sounds of activity in the settlement. People moved purposefully, tending gardens, repairing walls, and checking the horizon with binocular-like devices. Jace guided her through the settlement, introducing her to others who nodded in greeting. "This is home," Jace said softly. "For now. And it's strong because everyone here works together. That's how humans survive out here, through cooperation. Not weakness." Mara watched, amazed. Humans had built a thriving community in the middle of a desert planet that would have killed most others. Gardens flourished under protective domes. Water was carefully rationed and collected, and energy came from small solar panels. The ingenuity and determination of humanity were evident everywhere. But as Mara explored, a warning sounded, a low, harsh alarm that sent chills down her spine. People grabbed weapons and ran toward the walls. Mara's heart raced. Jace grabbed her hand. "Stay close. Something is coming." From the horizon, a group of alien scouts appeared, moving swiftly toward the settlement. They were tall, with armored exoskeletons and glowing eyes. The humans here had faced many dangers, but the aliens were a new and terrifying threat. Mara felt fear coil in her stomach. "Defend the walls," one of the guards shouted. "We hold them here." Jace pushed Mara behind a stack of crates, keeping her and the baby safe. "Stay low," he whispered. "Watch and learn. Humans survive by thinking, planning, and acting together." Mara watched as the settlement sprang into action. Humans moved with precision, using barricades, traps, and clever tactics to slow the aliens' advance. The aliens were strong and fast, but the humans' determination and preparation gave them an advantage. Jace leaned close. "This is why we survive," he said. "It's not just strength, it's brains, planning, and courage. Never forget that." Mara nodded, gripping her baby tightly. She realized that survival wasn't only about escaping the desert, it was about being clever, alert, and unafraid to act when necessary. The battle raged for hours. Humans used every advantage, luring the aliens into traps, cutting off their paths, and using clever devices to disable their technology. Mara watched in awe, understanding for the first time how humanity's ingenuity could overcome even a stronger enemy. When the dust finally settled, the aliens retreated, leaving the settlement intact. Humans cheered, tending to the wounded and repairing damaged structures. Mara felt a deep sense of pride and relief. These people had survived in the harshest environment imaginable, using courage and intelligence at every step. Jace looked at her. See? Humans survive because we adapt, because we fight when we must, and because we never give up. You've done well to get here. You've earned your place. Mara smiled faintly, exhaustion mixing with pride. Her baby cooed in her arms, unaware of the danger that had passed. She knew that she had come a long way, but the journey had taught her more than just survival. It had shown her the strength and determination of humanity. The elder approached, looking at Mara and her child. You've walked a hard path, he said, but you are here now. You are safe. And if you wish, you may stay and learn from us. Together, humans will continue to survive, no matter what the desert or the universe throws at us. Mara held her baby close, feeling a warmth she had not known in days. She had survived the desert, faced danger, and found humans who had thrived against impossible odds. She realized now that survival was not just about strength, it was about courage, intelligence, and the willingness to keep moving forward. That night, Mara sat by the fire in the settlement, holding her baby. The stars shone above, the desert beyond, silent for now. She knew that challenges would come again. But she also knew that humans had a power beyond fear, beyond weakness, the power to endure, adapt, and rise above. The hidden haven had become a home, a place where Mara and her child could begin again. And as she watched the humans around her, she understood that no matter how harsh the desert, no matter how strong the enemies, humanity would survive. Because humans did not give up, humans adapted, humans endured, and Mara was ready to endure with them. The hidden settlement had quieted after the alien scouts retreated, but Mara knew the danger was far from over. The desert outside was unforgiving, and rumors of larger alien forces beyond the horizon weighed heavily on everyone. Humans had survived so far because of skill, courage, and unity, but now, it was time to prove that again. Mara held her baby close as she walked beside Jace through the settlement. People were repairing walls, checking their devices, and preparing defenses. Jace stopped at a small command post, where maps of the surrounding desert and settlement were spread out. They'll be back, he said quietly, his eyes scanning the horizon. And when they return, it won't just be scouts. It could be their full force. We have to plan. Mara nodded, her heart heavy but determined. What can I do to help? She asked. She had learned much about the desert, movement, and survival in the past days. She had to contribute. Jace studied her. You know the terrain better than anyone here. You've walked the sands barefoot, seen what's safe and what's not. Your knowledge could save lives. Mara swallowed. She had never imagined herself as a leader or strategist. But she realized that survival demanded courage beyond fear. Then tell me what to do, she said. Jace smiled faintly. First, we gather information. You and I will move ahead and observe. We'll spot their approach and identify weaknesses. Then we'll return and help plan the defense. The baby was safely wrapped in a carrier, and Mara adjusted it carefully. Together, they left the settlement, moving toward a rocky ridge overlooking the desert. The air was dry and hot, and the sands stretched endlessly, but Mara felt a strange calm. She had survived this harsh world before. She could do it again. From the ridge, they could see distant movement, small glints of light reflecting off alien armor. Mara's pulse quickened. There they are, she whispered. Jace nodded. We watch and record. Note their numbers, their movement patterns, and their weaknesses. Then we return. Mara focused, scanning carefully. She noticed gaps in the aliens' formation. Moments when their movements slowed, and the way they reacted to obstacles. She pointed them out to Jace, who nodded approvingly. You see clearly, he said. You've learned well. Humans survive because we notice what others miss. Every small detail counts. After hours of observation, they returned to the settlement. Mara relayed everything she had seen, describing the aliens' formation, their speed, and the areas where traps could be set. The elder and other leaders listened carefully, nodding as they formulated a plan. Excellent work, the elder said. Your observations will allow us to defend the settlement effectively. Humans adapt. That is our greatest strength. Jace placed a hand on Mara's shoulder. See? You've already made a difference. You're proving that humans survive by thinking, acting, and never giving up. Mara felt a surge of pride. She had feared helplessness, but now she realized that knowledge, courage, and determination were just as important as strength. The next day, the alien forces advanced. They moved faster this time, clearly aware that humans were prepared. The settlement's defenses were ready. Barricades reinforced with metal, traps hidden in the sand, and clever devices designed to confuse and slow the invaders. Mara and Jace positioned themselves near the ridge, observing the battlefield. The baby slept peacefully in a secure area inside the settlement. Safe for the first time in days. The first wave of aliens approached, and humans reacted immediately. Mara held her ground, heart pounding, as the first traps activated. The aliens stumbled over concealed pits and wires, giving humans the advantage. Good, Jace whispered. Keep watching. Note their reactions. That will help us adapt. Mara's eyes were sharp. She saw the aliens regroup, noticed the way they reacted to the traps, and pointed out new weaknesses to Jace. Together, they relayed instructions to the defenders. Humans adjusted quickly, moving with precision and intelligence. The aliens pressed forward, stronger and faster. But humans had learned from their mistakes. Mara suggested a maneuver, leading a small group of defenders to flank the aliens through a narrow canyon passage. Jace approved, and the plan was set in motion. Mara watched as the defenders executed the move perfectly. The aliens were caught off guard. Their formation disrupted, and humans gained ground. Mara felt her heart swell. This was human ingenuity in action. Hours passed, and the battle raged. Mara stayed at her post, observing, guiding, and encouraging the defenders. Her knowledge of the desert, her ability to read terrain, and her quick thinking turned the tide in favor of the humans. Finally, as the sun began to set, the aliens faltered. Humans had adapted, learned their weaknesses, and used the terrain to their advantage. With one final coordinated push, the aliens retreated, disappearing into the desert beyond the horizon. Cheers erupted throughout the settlement. Humans embraced, tending to the wounded and repairing the defenses. Mara felt tears in her eyes as relief and pride flooded through her. They had survived. They had endured. Jace placed a hand on her shoulder. See? This is why humans survive. Not just strength, not just endurance, but courage, intelligence, and the will to keep moving forward. You've been part of that. You've helped save lives today. Mara looked around at the settlement people she had just met. All alive, all strong, and all resilient. She realized that humans were capable of incredible feats when they worked together, when they adapted, and when they refused to give up. She held her baby close, feeling a warmth and safety she had not known for so long. The journey had been terrifying, exhausting, and uncertain. But it had taught her something invaluable. Humans could endure anything, survive anything, and thrive in the harshest conditions imaginable. The elder approached Mara, his eyes kind. You have walked a long path, he said. You have learned the desert, survived the dangers, and helped defend your new home. You and your child are now part of this settlement. Together, humans will continue to survive, no matter what challenges lie ahead. Mara smiled, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she whispered. I will do my best. As night fell, the settlement settled into quiet activity. Fires glowed warmly. Gardens thrived under protective domes, and the walls stood strong against the desert beyond. Mara sat near the fire, holding her baby, and watched the stars above. She thought of the desert she had crossed, the dangers she had faced, and the determination that had carried her this far. She realized that the true power of humanity was not just survival. It was courage, ingenuity, and the refusal to surrender, even when everything seemed impossible. Jace sat beside her, quiet and calm. "You've come a long way," he said, "and tomorrow, the world will continue. There will be challenges, yes, but humans face them, adapt, and overcome. That's who we are." Mara nodded, looking down at her baby sleeping peacefully. She knew that the journey was far from over. But she also knew that she and her child had a home now. A place of safety, strength, and community. The desert beyond was harsh and unforgiving. But within the walls of the settlement, humans thrived. They had proven that courage, intelligence, and determination could overcome even the greatest dangers. And Mara, once a weary traveler struggling barefoot under the scorching sun, had become a symbol of that human spirit, strong, enduring, and unyielding. She whispered softly to her child, "We are safe now, and we will survive, no matter what comes." The stars glimmered above, the desert quiet for now, and the settlement stood strong. Humanity had endured, adapted, and triumphed once more. And Mara knew that as long as humans refused to give up, no force in the universe could overcome them. The fire crackled softly beside her. The baby slept soundly. And for the first time in a long while, Mara allowed herself to believe in a future. A future where humans would survive. A future she would face with courage. A future she and her child would endure together.